Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the Islamic State may have had a hand in the blast that killed 321 people in the country on Sunday. His comment comes as the first mass funeral is held for victims of the attack. Let's now get a wrap of the international news. Simon Pusey is standing by with Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. The first mass burial has been held in Sri Lanka, where the death toll from Sunday's terrorist attack has climbed to more than 320. Suicide bombers targeted luxury hotels and churches as worshippers attended Easter services. The country's defence minister believes it was retaliation for last month's mosque attack in New Zealand. Danny Vucenovic reports.
Video has emerged of a suspected suicide bomber heading towards St Sebastian's Church. Carrying what looks like a heavy backpack, he crosses paths with a father and child before walking along a corridor, then into the building. The CCTV stops before the blast, but images of the aftermath clear evidence of the power behind his deadly load. This was just one of 3 churches targeted. 3 luxury hotels were also hit. Most of the victims were Sri Lankans, but foreigners were also caught up in the blasts.
I heard about the huge noise. Then I jumped into the church and I saw that my daughter was on the floor. I don't know what to do.
A silence has been held for the hundreds of people who were killed and injured. And as grieving relatives bury their loved ones, the government is coming under fire for failing to prevent the attack. Security agencies had issued warnings, but they weren't properly communicated. The Prime Minister was reportedly left out of intelligence briefings because of a rift with the country's president. There have been arrests, all said to be Sri Lankans, but it's believed those involved were influenced and helped by Islamic State. Video has now been posted purportedly showing the attackers pledging allegiance to the terrorist group.
The investigators are making good progress in regard to identifying the culprits. But it means that we have to identify all the culprits and look at what the network is.
A state of emergency has been declared following fears of further attacks. The move gives police and the military extensive powers, allowing them to detain and interrogate suspects without court orders. Danny Vucenovic, Channel's Television News.
Rescue teams are searching for survivors after a strong earthquake rocked the Philippines. At least 11 people were killed when the 6.1 magnitude quake hit. 1 man was pulled from the rubble of a 4-story building which collapsed on a ground floor supermarket. Rescuers are now racing against time to find more survivors. The so-called new IRA has admitted responsibility for the death of a journalist in Northern Ireland. 29-year-old Lyra McKee was shot while standing near police during a riot last week. A 57-year-old woman has been arrested in Derry in connection with her murder. North Korea's Kim Jong-un is due to hold his first ever summit with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. The meeting was confirmed on state-run television. Preparations are underway in Russia's far eastern city Vladivostok, with the Kremlin saying the 2 leaders will meet within the next week. Some reports suggest the talks will happen on Thursday. Buckingham Palace has confirmed President Trump will make his long-delayed state visit to the UK during the first week of June. Last year, an estimated 250,000 people staged a protest in London during his visit in July. The US President will again meet the Queen, this time with pomp and ceremony. The event comes more than 2 years after the Prime Minister Theresa May issued the controversial invitation. African leaders have given Sudan more time to implement democratic reforms. The decision was made during an emergency summit in Egypt. Last week, the African Union gave the Transitional Military Council a 15-day deadline to hand over power to a civilian government. Demonstrators in Khartoum are still demanding immediate change. India's Prime Minister has cast his vote in the 3rd and largest phase of the country's staggered general election. Hundreds of people turned out to support Narendra Modi, who's widely expected to win the ballot. Results are expected on May the 23rd. And finally, new images have been released to mark the first birthday of a British member of the royal family. These 3 photos of Prince Louis were taken by his mother, the Duchess of Cambridge, at the family's home in Norfolk. The young royal is 5th in line to the throne, behind his grandfather Charles, his father William, his brother George and his sister Charlotte. And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Thank you, Simon. Time now for sports news with Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Gimba. Well, the Nigerian Referees Association has suspended the match officials that handled match day 16's fixture between Rivers United and Sunshine Stars at the Yakubu Gowon Stadium in Port Harcourt. The match officials are Ishaku Ibrahim, Jerry Pam and Mark Odion. According to the NRA, well, the officials made questionable calls, especially the penalty kicks awarded to both clubs in the game that finished 1-1. The French Football Federation has confirmed that Stéphanie Frappart will become the first woman to referee a French Ligue 1 match when Amiens hosts Strasbourg on April the 28th. Frappart, the only referee from France who will be officiating at the Women's World Cup to be held this June, was also the first woman to officiate a second-tier game. Manchester City Football Club manager Pep Guardiola has confirmed that the midfielder Kevin De Bruyne will miss Wednesday's derby against Manchester United with a muscular injury. De Bruyne was replaced by Fernandinho 38 minutes into City's 1-0 win over Tottenham on Saturday and will not recover in time for the Manchester derby. Well, a fantastic late strike from Christian Eriksen has rescued Tottenham to give them a vital 1-0 win over Brighton and Hove Albion. Well, the result moves Spurs 3 points clear of 4th place Chelsea and 4 and 6 points clear of Arsenal and Manchester United. And that's a wrap on sports news. The news at 10 continues shortly.
And the main news again, President Muhammadu Buhari today asked for increased partnership with Qatar as he hosted the country's leader at the presidential villa in Abuja. And that's how it's been on the news at 10 tonight. I want to thank you so much indeed for being a part of it. On behalf of all of us here, have a splendid night, friends. Good night.